Teachers are so busy, 7 a.m. the morning of, they're like, oh crap, I need something for today. I just randomly started a store. And within 2 years of taking it seriously, I replaced my teacher salary. First 90 days, focus all of your time and energy on uploading high quality products, as many as you can without sacrificing quality. Go to TPT search for what you want to create, get some inspiration. I actually made a full curriculum. That's $400. When people notice, oh, I like the way that Lindsay's resources look, I need all of it. Then you're making $400 sale versus a $3 sale. It is a great side hustle for teachers because they already have resources on their computer that they could upload right now, as long as they learn how to do it the correct way. I help teachers make money outside of the classroom. Maybe they want to leave the classroom, or maybe they just need a side hustle because teachers don't make any money. That is the main thing that I'm doing right now, is mentoring teachers. But I got my start by selling teacher resources on a website called Teachers Pay Teachers. If your listeners are not familiar, it's basically exactly how it sounds. It's a site where teachers all over the world can go and purchase lesson plans and activities and worksheets created by other educators. And obviously you can make money from selling those. And so that's how I got my start. And now I help other teachers do the same thing.
Yeah, let's dive into that, because we have had a lot of people on the show who are already in their professional career. They're doing their thing that they've gone to school for. And so not everybody who listens to this is trying to decide between college and the career. They're already in the career path, and they're looking for ways to either make more money doing that, step out of that entirely. So talk me through what Teachers Pay Teachers is, how exactly it works, and the success that you personally saw using that platform.
Yeah, so it's a website where anyone can create a free account, and then they can shop all kinds of different teacher educational resources. So it's not just for classroom teachers. A lot of homeschool teachers use this. Tutors, people go there to get sub plans if they're going to be out. So there's a lot of different options, but the main type of person who is using TPT to make money is an educator or a homeschool parent, because they have experience with creating activities for their own classroom or lesson plans. Like, for example, I got started because my first year as a teacher, I didn't have a textbook. And so I've had to teach myself how to make math notes and worksheets for my classroom. And then one of my coworkers said, hey, have you ever heard of Teachers Pay Teachers? You should sell those. And so I just randomly started a store. And within 2 years of taking it seriously, I replaced my teacher salary, which is kind of insane. But it's a great way for teachers to use their skills and knowledge to help other teachers around the world, especially because teachers are really lacking in resources from their school, sadly.
Yeah. Well, I love that it fills multiple problems, right? Like, it fills the gap, like you said, they need the resources, and it also fills the gap for the teacher income for those who choose to sell those resources.
Exactly.
I homeschooled for 5 years, so I've definitely been on there. I've definitely bought things from Teachers Pay Teachers, so I'm familiar from a consumer standpoint. And even as a homeschool mom, kind of debated, should I put some of my stuff on there? But I'm not really the type to create.
Yeah.
I'm definitely the type that's like, save me the time.
Yes.
I will pay the money so I don't have to go develop my own curriculum. So I love that. And I think it's so powerful that people who are already doing it, you know, those who are more inclined. My mother-in-law actually taught preschool forever, and we told her, you need to like sell all of these amazing lesson plans you created.
Yeah.
And she just, I don't think she saw the vision of how people could actually find value in that and want to purchase it for themselves.
Right.
So that's so exciting, though, that you were able to replace the teacher salary within a couple of years. So how long did you stay teaching at that point? Once you did that, did you shift out of actually teaching? Are you still teaching? I mean, I know you teach other teachers now, coach them.
Right.
When did we walk away from the teaching career?
Yeah, I stepped away in 2019 because I got pregnant with my first baby, and teacher maternity leave is not great. And so that was actually the year I replaced my teacher salary, was 2019. So yeah, it's been a huge blessing. I did not think, just like you said, your mother-in-law, like, who's going to buy this? I was thinking the same thing, like, why would anyone buy this? People can make these things. But the thing is, teachers are so busy, and, you know, at 7 a.m. the morning of, they're like, oh crap, I need something for today. It's just such a quick win for them, an easy solution to a problem. So teachers are buying these resources, even if they can make them themselves, which is cool.
Yeah. And we're talking like low priced items too, right? We're not talking like, this isn't a hard sell. I think that's what works so well about it, is you're getting on there and you're able to get something for like $4 or maybe $15 to $20, depending on what you're purchasing. And it solves an immediate problem, like you said, for the other teacher. And it's something you can sell over and over and over again. It's like the Etsy for teachers.
That's exactly what it is. That's a great way to describe it. Yes. And a lot of teachers who sell on TPT then go on to make an Etsy store, or, you know, there's multiple other websites, but I always suggest TPT first because the traffic is 100% teachers. Like, they are going there looking for what you have. Whereas Etsy, you know, they're looking for all kinds of things.
Yeah. Okay, I want to talk about like developing those products. Like, I mean, I know the natural easiest thing is if you've already developed some curriculum, some worksheets, things like that, just kind of put those on there. But will you walk us through what that really even entails? Like, is it a huge, lengthy process? How do we get started? Like, give me the 101 class on listing things and selling.
Yeah, TPT it's great because you don't have to have resources that are just like beautifully designed from a graphic designer. Like as long as they are, easy to read, professional looking, then it's perfect for a kid who doesn't need all the fancy fonts and stuff anyway, because that's distracting for kids, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend two different programs. Canva is of course free and great. I will say that you cannot use Canva for educators for commercial use. So if you're a teacher listening and you have a Canva for Educator account, don't use that. You can use the free or the pro Canva version. It's easy to use. There are tons of YouTube videos on how to get started with Canva. The other program that I like is actually Microsoft PowerPoint, which I know sounds crazy because it's kind of like an old school tool, but it's really easy to create simple, professional, easy to read worksheets on PowerPoint. That's what I actually use to create my math worksheet. So you would just think about like, what are you teaching right now if you're still in the classroom or if you're homeschooling? What are you teaching your kids? And kind of what would they need? Do they need guided notes where they're like filling in the blank for vocabulary? Do they need practice worksheets? I actually teach in my program how to create a lot of different types of activities. So if you're kind of not creative, then there are tons of YouTube videos about how to learn how to create an escape room or a board game. And all of that you can do easily in Canva or PowerPoint.
Okay, cool. So the development doesn't have to be fancy. I think that's good news for people who
Yeah.
may be either already busy because they're in some form of career or, and I feel like this could work for even people who maybe are not full-time teachers right now. Maybe they are taking a break while they raise their families and they're like, hey, that's the part that I actually really loved when I was a teacher is developing these worksheets and things like that. But it doesn't have to be frilly. It's not like you are starting like an Etsy shop per se. It's kind of the good foundational piece. Very, very basic. Sounds like does the best. Things that are easy to consume, easy to use in a classroom are going to convert really, really well.
For sure. Yes.
Okay, cool. And then when it comes to listing it, like what does that process look like? Because I know just like anything, I'm sure you have to optimize listings, making sure that people are going to actually find what you're creating. I would imagine that there's quite a bit on there. So what are even your recommendations on what the best practices for standing out and listing your items?
Yeah, such a great question. So yeah, there is competition on TPT. A lot of people feel it's saturated, and I definitely don't think it's saturated because I see new sellers, making money within the first week, but you definitely have to know how to optimize your listings, just like Etsy. There's SEO, search engine optimization involved. TPT has their own algorithm and they haven't necessarily released what that is, and they do change it. But there are a few things you can do. So there is a website called Seller Spy. And they do have a free account. There's also a premium and a pro version too, but the free can get you started. And Seller Spy actually has, I think, 100,000 TPT keywords that they have gathered somehow, tech stuff. I don't know. But you can go on there, you can search for the topic that you're creating for, and then they can give you low competition keywords. So if you use something like sight words gain, that's going to be really saturated because all elementary teachers are searching for that, and tons of people have made resources around that. But if you go on Seller Spy, you can find keywords that not as many people have created a resource around, but people are still searching for it. So it's kind of like finding a gap in the market. So that's a great tool. Another thing that you can do is just go to TPT search for kind of what you want to create, see how many resources are created around that, see if there's some really top sellers, get some inspiration. Don't ever copy, of course. That's a great way to kind of see what people want. And then when you're listing it, you want to make sure that you are using all of these thumbnails, is what it's called. So if you go to teacherspayteachers.com and search, there are like square pictures, and you can make those in Canva. You can take screenshots of the resource that you created and upload it into Canva and make a nice cover photo. And I will say for those, you do want it to be eye-catching and a little more frilly because this is like a first impression. It's what's going to stop the scroll when people are searching on TPT. So you want to make those really visually bright and colorful and appealing, like you would think like a classroom decor would look. So you would use all four of those. There's also something called a preview file, which is like a PDF file of what's included. So you want to make your resource look really juicy because you're selling it, right? So you want to say like it's no prep, it's print and go. Answer keys are included. No cutting required. That's a big one for like elementary teachers. They don't want something that their kids have to cut out because it takes forever. So just learning those things that teachers are looking for, because usually when they're going to TPT, like I said, it's the morning of, they're looking for something they can print and use right away. So those are things that I would really use to make your resource stand out.
Cool. Oh, I love that. And as like a consumer, I'm thinking that through. I'm like, yes, that's true. Because you don't want to show the whole file or make it possible to just take it, screenshot it, but you
Right.
definitely want to give them that insight into what's included. I know that that's a lot of times how I make my purchase decisions. If I see like, wow, this is literally, I expected to get a few pages and now I can see that I'm getting all of this. This is so valuable.
Yes,
And how I would scroll past if you were just, your main photo was the lined paper that I'm going to do copy work on, right? Like nobody's going to,
exactly.
it's not going to stand out. Cool. I love that. And I'm even hearing similarities with every other platform. That's how SEO works, right? You want to know what people are searching, you want to know what they're looking for. I love that there's a tool out there that will literally show you like where those gaps are and doing that market research. I
Yes.
was curious as you're talking too, do you recommend going to other platforms like Pinterest or places like that just to see in general what people are looking for even off the Teachers Pay Teachers platform to see if there's needs there to meet and like some gaps on those other search engines?
Yeah, Pinterest is a great tool. I feel like teachers all use Pinterest. And with Pinterest, you can go, to the search bar and then it'll auto populate long tail
Mm.
keywords for you. So that's a great method. And then, once you create the resource, hitting it to Pinterest, which is free, is a great way to bring in more traffic to your store. So I love Pinterest for sure.
Okay, cool. So after you've done a little bit of that research, you're creating your resources. We obviously know at that point. So is this a platform that has ads? Like what can you do to bring more traffic and increase that revenue? For you, it took a couple of years until you were replacing that. That's not a very long time in the grand scheme of things, but what do you feel like led to your success? Was it proximity or not proximity? Was it like the amount of things that you were creating? So because you had so many different little things to sell, it just adds up? Or is it a matter of you have like your one hero thing that seems to get the most sales and you just kind of let the time pass?
Yeah. For me personally, what happened was I was a high school math teacher. I was creating high school geometry resources first. I also was creating all of these like random resources in the beginning, like classroom decor and bulletin board stuff. But I noticed using the data that my high school geometry resources were selling way better than all of my like decor stuff. So I just started making more of those things. And I started what's called a product line, which is a great way to get repeat buyers and get higher ticket sales. So you asked about like ads on TPT. You can run like promotions on TPT. I've actually never done that because I've heard that they don't work very well. So all of my sales have come from SEO and then repeat buyers. So when I noticed that it was actually specifically my high school geometry notes and worksheets bundles. So I would make right triangles, notes and worksheets. If you're not a math teacher, sorry, that might have you're like, what? But it's just a specific topic in geometry. Those are selling well. So then I made another topic and then I can bundle all of those together and have like a full year of high school geometry notes and worksheets. And then that is where I started making the big money because I actually made a full curriculum. That's $400 for a curriculum. And when people notice like, oh, I like the way that Lindsay's resources look, that my students really like these, I need all of it. I want to buy the whole curriculum. And so then you're making like a $400 sale versus a $3 sale. So product lines, bundles, it's a great way to get a higher ticket item.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Super smart. And I'm even again thinking back to my buyer behavior, and that is I even got on email lists and I'm trying to remember if it was directly because I had bought something from them on Teachers Pay Teachers. So do you have the ability to capture that customer information so you can continue to upsell and email them later? Is that something that's native or do you have to do a workaround to be able to get that client data?
You have to do a workaround. So you can get followers on TPT. They follow your store, and then you can send a note to those followers
Mhm.
within the TPT platform. Not a lot of people check that because you have to like actually log in to see your notes. So my suggestion is always start an email list. That's the number one thing any business owner should do, right? But you do have to do that outside of TPT. But what you can do is when you're uploading your product, you can have like a page. It's like, hey, click here for a free week of geometry lessons. And it goes to your landing page in Flowdesk or wherever. They sign up for your email list and then you can market to them that way.
Okay. Have you seen a lot of success with continued marketing from those customers because you have those opt-ins and those opportunities to keep selling over time? Has that been like a huge driver or mostly just because they purchase from you and they come back for more?
What's really funny is they actually just started an email list for my TPT store this year.
Oh my
which
gosh.
which I don't recommend that. Like, don't follow this advice. The only reason is because I got so busy with like the coaching side of my business that I honestly let my TPT source sit for like 3 years and didn't do anything with it, which is passive income, which is incredible. But I was like, okay, I already have all these resources. Like, why am I not emailing them? So I actually did paid ads to these freebies, and then I put them in my products as well. And we had a end of year sale. So TPT does site-wide sales about 3 times a year. We had one in May, and I sent one email and I got $1,400 in sales from that one email. So yes, definitely starting an email list after you have your store established is so important.
Yeah. So either having that workaround where it's on a worksheet, it's on somewhere so that you're giving another resource to people to come opt in.
Yes.
Let's kind of zoom out too of TPT, because that's just one of the things that you have done to monetize and that you also recommend to other teachers or professionals to monetize. And that's like growing your own list. Do you sell your products anywhere else except TPT, or do you recommend to the students, the people you coach, to start branching out, creating their own storefront? Is that kind of a direction that you've ever gone?
Yeah, I have my math resources on my own website. So my website is hosted on WordPress and I use the WooCommerce plugin for that.
Hmm.
It has done fine, but I probably make like a tenth of the amount of money that I do from TPT. So I think that it's definitely a viable option. I know some people try Etsy, some people try Classful. There's several other websites, but the traffic that TPT has and the reputation that they have just doesn't compare. So honestly, what I would personally recommend if someone was like wanting to branch outside of TPT is think about like other low ticket products that you could sell. Like let's say that there's an elementary teacher and they have a lot of resources around like creating a morning meeting, just like, when the kids get together and sit on the circle. Then you could maybe do like a morning meeting mini course. What are you doing with your morning meeting? How do you do classroom management? And then you can sell that like with Instagram. That's probably a better way to really scale and diversify your income.
Okay. Good to know. I'm curious because you said like you make a tenth, maybe you sell a tenth of the resources on your own website as you do with TPT because the searchability is there, right? Like people are already on the platform. It's got its own good reputation. When it comes to income, is it taking a huge chunk? Is it like a processing fee? Is it a flat rate when people are buying over there?
So with TPT, they have two seller accounts. The basic one is a one-time fee of $30. And with that one, you keep 55% of earnings. Not
Mm.
great. Then they have a premium account, which is $60 a year. And with that one, you keep 80% of your
Wow.
earnings. So I definitely recommend getting the premium. There is a transaction fee if the customer's total cart value is less than $3. So one of the things that you can do is just have most of your resources be $3 or more to
Mm.
combat that. But the premium account, I think keeping 80%, and they handle customer service, and they actually handle and remit sales tax for you, which is a pain if you have to do that on your own. Well worth it.
Yeah. And then I know you mentioned like creating those bundles and having those packages is really going to help you increase, like, obviously the cart value, which helps you make more money. Does TPT have within it a natural upsell ability? If people are buying one thing from your store, will it recommend other things? Can you customize any of that?
You can't customize it. They do have a bundle tool built in, so it is easy to bundle like multiple resources. So that
Mm.
is nice. After you purchase something, it will say like, you may also like, but you can't choose that. That's like a TPT algorithm thing, unfortunately.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's kind of come back over to what we're talking about, other ways to monetize and diversify, starting to make some of that money. What are you seeing, like a lot of your students or the people that you've guided having the most success with by way of digital products? I know you mentioned like a very specific example, but is this more support for the teacher? Is this more resources? Like do you see people doing both where they're maybe creating a program that the teacher can provide to the students? Or is it more like teachers literally guiding other teachers in their teaching careers or resources for them to personally use?
Yeah, I've seen it all. I mean, there's really no wrong way to do it. I've seen people be successful with both. I've seen people make like memberships for homeschool parents where homeschool parents can pay a monthly fee and get access to their whole product library. I've seen teachers make mini, like professional development mini courses for other teachers, or even like full $300, $500 courses for other teachers. I've seen teachers expand to even other niches, like maybe they left the classroom and they're not really interested in continuing to do the education thing. One of my friends, she started like a baking, like she teaches other people how to have a bakery, like a home bakery. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but I do think diversifying your income as a teacher and not putting all of your eggs in the TPT basket is smart.
Yeah. Well, I thought about this for a little while when I was in the homeschool world, and I feel like the gap that I filled in a lot of conversations with friends was a lot of homeschool moms don't have tons of time, but they do need some more income, especially if they're able to stay home. Some people are blessed enough to where they have the resources and the income from their spouse, their partner, and they don't have to bring in anything extra. But that was probably more rare. Like for most, it's kind of a pinch, and it's hard to not bring in anything. And so I found that there's like this really cool, unique gap where you're a natural educator. You literally love teaching and you're very inclined to this. And so you would make a great instructor. Like just take what you're teaching over here and just teach that to more people. Have
Yep.
you found that to be what works even in your coaching and being able to guide other people is they already have that element that maybe some other people who are trying to create programs don't even have the natural teaching instinct. And so you play to those strengths?
Oh, for sure. Yes. I think that teachers are excellent course creators because, even just like the designing of the course and making sure like from point A to point Z makes sense logically, because I've taken courses where it doesn't. So
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like that's such a great option for teachers is to be, a course creator, a mini course creator, because they're naturally gifted at that.
Yeah. And so when you have, right, maybe for you, even I would love to hear what that transition timeline looked like because you're working as a teacher, you didn't have any kids yet. So you had a little more flexibility in that regard, right?
Yeah.
What did this look like as you were working the full time job, the full time teaching job in high school, like you're teaching high school, and then starting to develop these things? What should people anticipate in terms of timeline? How much time are we realistically looking at? It's more of a side hustle.
So it depends. So me personally, I would work during my planning period because I was creating resources not only for TPT, but for my classroom. So everything I listed
Mm,
about TPT, I used in my classroom because we didn't have a textbook. Some schools frown on that. So read your contract really carefully. Also, some schools in their contract say that everything the teacher creates is actually owned by the district. So you want to be really careful. If that is the case, then don't use a district laptop, do everything at home. But if it doesn't, then definitely use your planning period if you can do that. And then I would work probably an hour each night after I got home from school to upload more resources. And then, summers are a great time to really jam out a bunch of resources, school breaks. I think if you can commit, at least 3 to 4 hours a week, you can have a really, really good chance at making some extra income.
yeah. Have you
Mhm.
seen a lot of the people that you've worked with, maybe just even friends in that space? Do a lot of them end up walking away from the teaching career mostly because they're looking for the time flexibility and they're able to make more money doing that than they are teaching? Or do you see these people kind of just using it as that side hustle long term?
I see most people using it as a side hustle. It's sometimes hard. I would say that I am maybe the exception where I was able to replace my teacher salary. So TPT gives you rankings for all of the TPT sellers. I'm in the top 1% of TPT sellers. So I don't think it's a widespread thing where teachers are able to leave the classroom. And you have to think about, insurance and that kind of thing. However, it is a great first side hustle for teachers because they already or most likely have resources on their computer that they could upload right now as long as they learn how to do it the correct way.
Hmm. What do you think made you a top 1% seller? Like, what would you say your competitive advantage is with your shop? Or is it just length of time you've been doing it? Is it the quality of the design? Like, where would you recommend? What's kind of your stance on if you want to be successful on this platform and your goal is to walk away from the teaching career to full time do this? What would you say that might be?
I would say commit to following the data and like actually looking at your data inside your store. TPT actually has really good analytics, which makes it easy.
Mm.
And upload a bunch of resources. I have over 300 resources in my store now and use those product lines and bundles because that's where I make my most money is from I actually have two full curriculums now, Algebra 1 and Geometry. If you can make full year things for teachers, that is a great option to make, like you said, the higher cart value. One other thing I'll add is I think that I found a gap in the market with my high school math resources. When I first started, there was another really big high school math seller. She's still huge. She's fabulous, has all kinds of crazy, great resources. But hers are more for higher level, maybe gifted students. I didn't really see a lot for lower level or special ed students. And so that's what my curriculum focuses on. So finding gaps in the market like that can really help.
Yeah. So I think, and maybe the gap that you fill is the aesthetic, right? Maybe you're seeing
Yeah.
like nobody's really filling this need for the homeschool moms who really want beautiful things. There's homeschool curriculum that I will admit that I loved because the aesthetics were beautiful and they
Yeah.
complemented the work themselves. So I think just knowing where the gap is in the market, not necessarily just in what people are searching, but really zooming out and saying what's not being addressed here. What do people not even know they need because it doesn't exist yet? And then filling that gap can be a huge differentiator in your success. That's cool.
Yeah, so true.
Okay. For you, being able to shift into that full time, does any part of your monetization, I know now you're coaching, so you have, like you said, multiple income streams, but when you had that really successful curriculum, did you see like, let's continue this, let's create like a digital program that I could resell to teachers so that they can just plug students into it? Or have you seen any paths forward too with like selling that curriculum to schools or whole programs or things like that? Like, what are some other ways you could even go beyond teachers pay teachers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do sell my full curriculums to schools. I love it when schools buy resources for their teachers and not teachers paying out of pocket. TPT does have an option for that. They're actually about to change the way they structure that, but they do have a program where schools can sign up and kind of have an account for all their teachers. So that is something that you can do. I actually started taking purchase orders through my website. That's one of the reasons I wanted to sell resources on my own website so that I could do payment plans to make it more accessible. And then I could also accept purchase orders. So I advertise teachers, ask your principal, will they buy this curriculum for you? And they just mail me a check to my business. So that is a great option. I also tried the membership model. I didn't love it personally. I thought just, buying on TPT was a little bit easier as far as like the upkeep and admin. But that is something that you can do, is kind of have a membership where they get access to everything in your library, and then you're getting monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah. And have you seen people when they build out those memberships where it's like, what is the appeal? Like constantly getting more stuff? Is that something that kind of becomes a lot of work because you want to continue adding to the library? I mean, you have the seller or the buyer that's already there built in, but it's just a matter of continuous creation.
Yeah, continuous creation. If you already have a ton of resources, you could just go ahead and give them that. But then you have some teachers who are going to join for a month, download everything, and then leave. So then you have to have, a more complicated membership kind of structure set up, or maybe you give them like credits. That could cost them a lot of money to set that up. However, whoever builds that out for you, that's what I ran into. I was having teachers that would join, download my whole curriculum at $27 a month, when on TPT it was $400. You got to have some way that, they want to stay every month. And so just thinking that through and being smart about it is what you should do.
Okay. Any other things that we haven't covered that you have found to be smart ways for teachers to monetize and start building up some more of that side revenue?
Honestly, I do recommend TPT for everyone starting out, just because it's just so easy to get started. Teachers do all kinds of things. Some of our teachers go on to do tutoring businesses. Some of them were hired by their school district as a curriculum developer, which is really cool. Some of them have gone on to even be like influencers and Amazon affiliate stuff, where they're showing like teacher outfits or even teacher supplies. I mean, the options are really unlimited for teachers.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought up that too, becoming influencers, because I think you said you can run promotions on TPT. It's got great searchability within the app, but what what do you recommend in terms of outside marketing? Like we talked about Pinterest a little bit. I think you even mentioned Instagram. When you're selling a product, I think there's this shift that people have had to make where you're not just creating an Instagram account just to show products, right?
Yes.
Like, do you recommend building a personal brand and kind of branding yourself as a teacher who has these resources? And have you seen anybody successfully do that?
Yes, there are a lot of TPT sellers that do that. I don't personally do that, just because now my Instagram is more the coaching side. And I've seen so many teachers who, they're doing day in the life in their classroom on YouTube or on Instagram. And then as they are showing like what their kids are doing, they're like, oh, if you want this resource, like here's the link. And so just multiple ways for people to find them and buy for them is great. I would recommend an email list over social media. So definitely start an email list first. But yeah, social media is great. Even like starting your own podcast. I've seen teachers who, one in particular I'm thinking of, she has a podcast all about helping students who struggle with middle school math. And then she also made a course about that middle school math teachers can purchase for professional development hours. And then of course, in her course, she's advertising all of her TPT products because they're all for students who struggle with middle school math. So just really bringing all of those in and kind of having like a holistic look for their niche is great.
So I'm curious, even in that example with the podcast, is the audience for that the middle schoolers themselves or the parents of middle schoolers, or the middle school teachers? So they're learning how to better teach the curriculum.
Exactly. Yeah, because
Okay.
professional development that the schools usually, get for teachers, in my experience, is not great. I feel like teachers are so much better at giving professional development for other teachers.
Yeah. And that's the case in what you're doing as well, right? Like I'm sure that in addition to teaching how to monetize, there's a lot of that. Have you done personally kind of any of that yourself where you're coaching other teachers, not just in making money, but in the the way that they're delivering content or the way that they're teaching? Like have you kind of ventured into that space at all before you got into the coaching on income?
I never did that. I never did that space. I have quite a few friends who are like consultants, and that's what they do. They go to different schools around the country and get professional development. And they have online courses that teachers can buy or administrators can buy for their teachers as professional development. So it's definitely a great track. I haven't ventured into it, but I know a lot of people that have.
Yeah. And really just like picking your lane at first, right? Like trying, if you were right now trying to create an Instagram account where you're selling the products to teachers and you're also teaching teachers how to make money would be a little bit confusing, kind of a lot to do all at once.
Yes, for sure. Yes. Sticking with a niche, especially when, I feel like on TPT, you can kind of throw up a bunch of different things and see what sticks, see what's selling the best. But once you expand outside of TPT, you really want to have like an established niche, like what is selling the best, use the data. And then can you expand on that? Because you already know people want this. Let's
Hmm.
see if you can create other income streams from that.
Yeah. I know I kind of asked this in a different way, but I'm just curious, on average, what do you see with new sellers to start building that traction, right? Like you took a couple years to make the money that you were making and you had your strategy for that. When you're listing, I know when entrepreneurs start anything new, especially if you're already so busy and they maybe hear this episode and they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to try to do that. That's a cool thing. At what point should you, I mean, we should always be tracking the data, but how long is the runway typically to start seeing some traction? And what should you be doing? Like posting stuff every single day, listing new products regularly? What do you recommend for those first like 90 days?
First 90 days, I would focus all of your time and energy on uploading high quality products, as many as you can without sacrificing quality. Get as many products in your store as you can. And then at that 90-day point, that's actually a great time to check your data 3 months in, see what your top sellers are, and then make more of those things. So make a
Mm,
product line from those top sellers. That's when you're going to start getting those repeat buyers. That's when you probably should start an email list at the 90-day mark and then start putting the link for your sign up page in all of your products. Because that's a great way to find your lead magnet, right? If you have 90 days in and you have this one product that's selling better than all of your other ones, make a lead magnet around that. Make a freebie that's specifically tailored to that because people want it.
yeah. That actually brings me to I've seen people do free products on TPT. Like what is the purpose of that? Is that they're obviously not collecting email or are they? And just that kind of that backdoor way and it's just a great way to start building some store validation and get some ratings even though it's a free product.
Yeah. So your first product actually has to be free on TBT.
Okay.
So that's probably why there's so many freebies. But actually, posting freebies is a great strategy to get repeat buyers if you post really good freebies. I do see
Mm,
a lot of people just posting like a worksheet for free. That's not a great strategy. Like if you're going to make it free, it needs to be good to get a repeat buyer because they're going to download that, see how great it is. Because a lot of people go to TBT just looking for freebies, you can actually filter by free. And so if you're not showing up in that search at all, then they're not going to ever find you. But if you have a great freebie that shows up when they filter, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I need more from this person, then you can get those repeat buyers.
okay, cool. Good to know. And that's kind of funny. Like, that's probably why there's so many free things because not a lot of people make it past that point, maybe. Or,
Exactly.
you know,
Yep.
I just think it's good sound advice for anything. If people are listening and they want to start this specific side hustle or they've heard other episodes, my husband and I have always felt like what we really want entrepreneurs to know is they really do need to give themselves that 90-day runway. And if you're already beating yourself up or feeling like, well, I guess this isn't going to work for me, and you're only 45 days in, 60 days in, like it's not enough data and it's not enough time. And I love that you kind of said, yeah, you want quantity, but not ever at the expense of quality. And
Yes.
so finding that perfect balance of what can I actually create, maybe going a little bit heavier than I will go in the future. We're not saying this is going to be the pace forever, but I want to get that data faster. I want to put things out there quicker so that I can start to see what's working because then I'll lead to the success faster.
That's so true. And yes, I mean, any business, but TBT too is not the fast and easy way to make money. Like I do have people who I coach that make sales in the first week, but
Hmm.
that sales are $3 and $5. So you can't expect to like replace your teacher salary overnight. But because it's just such an easy way to get started. That's why I just recommend it to all teachers, because they probably already have resources anyway. They just need to learn how to list them correctly.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, where can people reach you if they want to learn more about what you do? Where can they get some resources to continue the conversation after this?
Yeah, I have a free training for teachers if you want to kind of dive into the TPT world, see if it's something for you, at lindsaybowden.com/training. And then I hang out on Instagram a lot at Lindsay Bowden.
Cool. Well, I love it. I love that you've had so much success, and I love that you're able to stay home. I don't know if you still just have the one baby or if you've had more since then, but I love that you
You
have that
now.
flexibility. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. And it's not lost on me that you walked away from that right on the cusp of COVID happening, and so I'm sure that was a huge blessing for you to not have to navigate the teaching remotely and probably
Yes.
saw a boom in that too with people looking for online resources. Did that kind of
Huge
boost your
boom.
business?
2020, huge boom. And I will say, because of COVID, there's so many gaps right now with students that teachers are desperately seeking high quality resources to fill those gaps. So that could be a great gap in the market for teachers that are just starting out. Have some resources around, like, how do you fill the gap between, what they are supposed to learn in third grade and did it, and then now they're in fourth grade. That's just a great market right now.
Good to know. And I think also, like, I'm an entrepreneur like you, so I'm already thinking in terms of, wanting to see that there's success for them and being able to sell and like wanting to help more teachers sell their products, but there's still so many more consumers who are not out there selling. And so it seems like when you said in the beginning, it's not saturated. There's still a lot of people who don't have the resources. So create them, find your little window where you can serve that need and you can have a ton of success, which is really exciting.
Yeah, there are 3 million teachers in the US alone, so it's not
Wow.
saturated. And the funny thing is, even sellers still buy things. Like, I was selling resources and then I couldn't make all the things I needed, so I was still buying. So there's room for sure. There's room for everyone.
Cool. It's its own little economy. It sounds like it's thriving and doing well. So it's worth, if you're already doing it, take a little slice, donate something, not donate, but contribute something.
Yeah.
You may just be surprised on the output that you can get. I love it. So cool.
Very cool.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate everything you've shared today. Such a cool, unique side hustle / business to start. And it's been fun to hear your hot take on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. This is fun.